Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of America's most haunting mysteries, the inexplicable disappearances along Route 66, the Mother Road itself. Between the 1950s and 1990s, dozens of travelers vanished without a trace along this iconic highway. Some were never found. Others left behind evidence so disturbing that investigators couldn't explain what happened. This is the story of Route 66's darkest secrets, where people disappeared into thin air, and the only witnesses were the endless desert and the open road. Route 66 was built to connect Chicago to Los Angeles, stretching 2,448 miles across America's heartland. For decades, it represented freedom, adventure, and the American dream. Families loaded up their cars, packed their belongings, and hit the road searching for better lives. But Route 66 became something else entirely. A hunting ground where the missing and the dead became part of the highway's legend. Our first case takes us back to 1952, to a stretch of Route 66 in the New Mexico desert near Gallup. A traveling salesman named Robert Mitchell left his hotel in Albuquerque on a Tuesday morning. He was heading to Arizona to meet clients and had mentioned to the hotel clerk that he'd be driving through the night. Mitchell was an experienced driver, meticulous about his business, and he never missed appointments. When he didn't arrive in Arizona, his clients became concerned. His company reported him missing to the New Mexico State Police. What police found was deeply unsettling. Mitchell's car was discovered abandoned near mile marker 89, about 20 miles outside of Gallup. The engine was still warm. His briefcase remained on the passenger seat, along with his wallet and identification. Most peculiar of all, the driver's side door was open, and there were strange markings scratched into the dashboard, symbols that police couldn't identify. No body was ever found. No ransom note appeared. Mitchell simply vanished. What made this case even stranger was what happened next. Over the following weeks, the symbols found in Mitchell's car began appearing at other locations along Route 66. Truck drivers reported seeing the same markings carved into rest stop signs. A family traveling through Texas reported finding them scratched into the paint of their vehicle while they were stopped for gas. No one understood what they meant or who was leaving them. The markings resembled a combination of Native American symbols and something else, something that didn't match any known alphabet or code. Local authorities investigated whether the symbols had significance to indigenous tribes in the area, but tribal leaders were equally puzzled. Some suggested they might be occult markings, possibly related to satanic cults that were rumored to operate in remote desert areas. Others theorized that someone was using the symbols to mark victims or territorial claims. The symbols remained a mystery that was never solved. Then came 1957. A young couple named Sarah and James Coleman were driving from California to Missouri to visit Sarah's dying mother. They had limited time and decided to drive through the night, pushing hard along Route 66. Their plan was to reach Missouri by the following evening. They left a motel in Flagstaff, Arizona, at around 11 p.m. on a Friday night. By Saturday morning, they had completely vanished. Their car was found 3 days later, parked at a scenic overlook along a quiet stretch of highway in northern Arizona. Inside, investigators found something that would baffle authorities for decades. The interior of the car was covered in photographs. Old, yellowed black and white photographs that neither family member recognized. The photographs showed various desert landscapes, some with figures in the distance, though the images were too blurred to make out details. One photograph showed a young girl possibly around 7 or 8 years old, standing in the desert. She was smiling directly at the camera, but her facial features were unnaturally distorted, as if the film had been damaged or corrupted. What horrified investigators was this? The same young girl appeared in multiple photographs, always smiling, always in different locations along Route 66. The photographs had no dates on them, but experts estimated they ranged from the 1920s to the 1950s. The girl looked exactly the same age in all the pictures, despite what appeared to be 3 decades of images. She never aged, she never changed. Sarah and James Coleman were never found. Their families hired private investigators, but the trail went completely cold. The mysterious photographs were stored in an evidence locker and largely forgotten. But the case would resurface in the most disturbing way possible. In 1963, a photographer named Edward Caldwell was traveling along Route 66 with his wife, documenting the dying highway for a book project. They spent several weeks traveling different sections, taking hundreds of photographs. When Caldwell developed his film back home in New York, he discovered something that terrified him. In the background of several of his photographs, partially obscured behind gas stations and roadside diners, was the same young girl from the Coleman case photographs. She was standing there, watching, smiling that same unsettling smile. Caldwell immediately contacted the FBI. He brought them the photographs and told them about the mysterious girl who had appeared in his images, despite the fact that he had never seen anyone matching her description when he was taking the pictures. FBI investigators were baffled. They compared Caldwell's photographs with the ones found in the Coleman vehicle. The girl looked identical. The same face, the same smile, the same impossibility. What followed was one of the most unusual investigations in FBI history. The Bureau began collecting reports from other travelers who claimed to have seen photographs of the mysterious girl appearing in their vacation photos. By 1965, they had collected over 200 photographs, all taken by different people, at different times, in different locations along Route 66. In every single photograph, the girl appeared the same age, wearing the same style of dress, displaying that same eerie smile. Theories began to circulate. Some suggested she was a real person who had somehow managed to appear in thousands of photographs across decades, which was, of course, impossible. Others proposed that there might be a group of people intentionally appearing in travelers' photographs as some kind of elaborate prank or psychological experiment. The most disturbing theory was that she wasn't a person at all, that something was manifesting in photographs, something that existed only in captured images, something that was traveling Route 66 alongside the living travelers. The girl in the photographs became known as the smiling ghost of Route 66. Urban legends spread. Travelers became paranoid about having their pictures taken near the highway. Some claimed that if she appeared in your photographs, you would experience misfortune. Others said that seeing her meant you were marked for disappearance. Then, in 1968, something changed. A truck driver named Frank Morrison was traveling the Texas section of Route 66 when he became aware of a young girl hitchhiking alone on the roadside. Concerned for her safety, he pulled over to offer her a ride. The girl matched the description of the mysterious girl from the photographs. The same age, the same dress, the same unsettling smile. When Morrison asked her name, she didn't respond. She simply stared at him and smiled. Terrified, Morrison drove away as fast as he could. He reported the encounter to police, describing the girl in detail. His description matched the photographs perfectly. But when police searched the area, they found no one. There was no hitchhiker on that road. There had been no reports of a missing child in the area. It was as if the girl had vanished into the desert itself. Over the next several years, similar reports came in from other drivers. They encountered a young girl, matching the photograph's description, always alone, always smiling, always appearing in impossible locations. Some drivers reported that when they tried to speak to the girl, she would simply point down the road ahead of them. When the drivers looked back, she was gone. By the 1970s, Route 66 had begun to decline as Interstate 40 opened, offering travelers a faster, more direct route across the country. Fewer people traveled the old road, and the disappearances seemed to decrease. But they didn't stop entirely. Missing persons cases continued to be reported along various sections of the Mother Road throughout the 1970s, 80s, and early 1990s. One particularly chilling disappearance occurred in 1974 in Oklahoma. A family of 4, parents and 2 children, were traveling Route 66 from Oklahoma City to New Mexico. They stopped at a small roadside diner for dinner. According to the waitress, the family seemed normal, pleasant, excited about their road trip. They left the diner around 8 p.m. They never reached their destination. Their car was found the next morning, parked along a desolate stretch of highway, with the engine running and the lights on. The family was gone. No bodies were found. No evidence of foul play. Just empty seats and a running engine that had nearly exhausted its fuel. Inside the car, investigators discovered a developed roll of film in the back seat. When they developed the photographs, nearly every single image contained the mysterious girl in the background, smiling. This pattern began repeating itself with disturbing frequency. Whenever a family or group of travelers disappeared along Route 66, investigators would often find cameras or photographs in their abandoned vehicles. And in nearly every case, the mysterious girl would be present in the images, sometimes in the background, sometimes partially hidden, always smiling that same inexplicable smile. By the 1980s, paranormal investigators and amateur researchers had become obsessed with the mystery. They organized their own expeditions along Route 66, taking hundreds of photographs, hoping to capture images of the mysterious girl. Some claimed to succeed. They published their findings online and in fringe magazines, spreading the legend further. But mainstream media remained skeptical, dismissing the case as urban legend and coincidence. Law enforcement agencies eventually closed most of the cases as cold cases, unable to explain the disappearances or connect them to any known criminal activity. The FBI's original investigation into the photographs was classified and sealed away in archives. The original photographs taken by travelers were eventually returned to families or destroyed. The evidence that once seemed so significant gradually faded into obscurity. But the mystery never truly went away. It evolved, adapted, took on new forms as technology changed. In the 1990s, as digital cameras became more common, reports began surfacing that the mysterious girl was now appearing in digital photographs as well. Some users on early internet forums claimed to have captured her image. Others posted computer-enhanced versions of old photographs, pointing out details that suggested something profoundly wrong with the girl's appearance. Asymmetrical features, eyes that seemed too large, a smile that extended too far across her face. Then came 1995, the last major documented case along Route 66. A group of paranormal investigators named the Route 66 Seekers decided to conduct a comprehensive investigation of the highway, collecting testimonies from witnesses and attempting to photograph the mysterious girl themselves. The group consisted of 5 members: David Chen, a retired police officer, Margaret Pierce, a photography expert, Robert Williams, a historian, Lisa Thompson, a paranormal investigator, and James Foster, a documentary filmmaker. The team traveled the entire length of Route 66 over the course of 2 months, from Chicago to Los Angeles, stopping at every location where disappearances or significant incidents had been reported. They took thousands of photographs, conducted interviews with local authorities and longtime residents, and gathered historical documents. Their plan was to create a definitive documentary about the mystery. On their final day, the team was traveling through a remote section of Route 66 in the New Mexico desert. According to their final radio communication with a local motel, they were in good spirits, excited about completing their investigation. They said they would check in again in a few hours. They never did. Search and rescue teams found their vehicle abandoned along the highway, the engine running, the doors open. Inside were thousands of photographs they had taken during their investigation. Investigators reviewing the photographs made a shocking discovery. The mysterious girl had appeared in nearly every single image, dozens of times in some photographs, sometimes multiple versions of her appearing simultaneously in the same frame. But there was something else, something that made investigators even more disturbed. In the photographs taken on their final day, the girl's face had changed. She was no longer a child. She had aged, progressed through different stages of life, appearing as a teenager, then a young adult, then middle-aged, all within a sequence of photographs that should have been taken within hours of each other. And in the final photographs, the girl appeared ancient, her face withered and skeletal, her smile wider than should have been possible for a human face, stretching from ear to ear in a grotesque expression. All 5 members of the Route 66 seekers disappeared without a trace. Their bodies were never found. Their investigation, their evidence, their documentary were never completed. Some of their photographs were recovered by authorities, but many were missing or damaged beyond recognition. What happened to the Route 66 seekers remains one of the most profound mysteries connected to the disappearances. Some theorists suggest that their investigation somehow awakened or agitated whatever was responsible for the vanishings. Others believe that the group discovered the truth, the real nature of the mysterious girl and why she appeared in photographs, and that knowledge somehow resulted in their disappearance. As Route 66 gradually faded from use in the 1990s, Interstate 40 becoming the standard route across America, the disappearances along the old road seemed to decrease. By the 2000s, the highway had become a nostalgic relic, preserved in places as a historic landmark, driven by tourists seeking to experience American history. But many locals who grew up near Route 66 remembered the stories, the warnings, the missing people. In 2003, a breakthrough of sorts occurred. A researcher named Dr. Patricia Sanderson, a professor of photographic analysis and art history, published a paper in a peer-reviewed journal suggesting that the mysterious girl might be an example of tulpa, a concept from Tibetan Buddhism referring to a being created through sustained thought and willpower. According to Sanderson's theory, the concentrated attention of travelers, drivers taking photographs, witnesses telling stories, investigators conducting research, might have collectively created or sustained a psychological entity that manifested in photographs. Dr. Sanderson's paper received mixed reactions from the academic community. Skeptics dismissed it as pseudoscience, but others found it intriguing, a possible framework for understanding how something could appear in photographs across decades without being a physical entity in the traditional sense. Then came 2008. A woman named Jennifer Walsh, who had grown up in New Mexico in the 1970s, came forward with a remarkable claim. She said that she was the girl in the photographs. According to her story, she had been a child hitchhiker on Route 66 in the 1950s, traveling with her parents. Their car broke down, and her parents left her at a rest stop while they went to get help. While waiting, she was picked up by a stranger who promised her ice cream. That was the last thing she remembered. Jennifer said that she had no memory of what happened next. The next thing she was aware of was waking up in a hospital in 1978 with no memory of the previous 26 years. She was physically an adult, but her mind had no recollection of aging or experiencing time. Doctors ran extensive tests but could find nothing physically wrong with her. She was released with the assumption that she had suffered some form of severe psychological trauma and amnesia. Jennifer's story created a sensation. If true, it suggested that the girl in the photographs was real, that she had actually existed, and that something had happened to her that defied conventional explanation. But there were problems with her account. The girl in the photographs appeared to be the same age consistently from the 1920s to the 1990s, far longer than Jennifer had been missing. Her description didn't perfectly match all the accounts from witnesses. And when Jennifer was shown some of the photographs, she expressed surprise at seeing herself in images she had never posed for. Skeptics suggested that Jennifer was either mentally ill, seeking attention, or was an elaborate hoax. Her claim was never definitively proven or disproven. She eventually withdrew from public attention and has not been interviewed since 2010. The photographs themselves have taken on an almost mythical status in paranormal and internet culture. In the digital age, people claim to have found the mysterious girl in modern photographs, appearing in the backgrounds of family photos, tourist pictures from Route 66, and even in images taken by dash cams along Interstate 40. Whether these are genuine discoveries or cases of pareidolia, the human tendency to see familiar patterns, especially faces in random images, remains a matter of debate. What makes the Route 66 mystery so compelling and so unsettling is that it challenges our understanding of reality. Either there is a rational explanation for all these disappearances and photograph anomalies, a serial killer, a group of pranksters, mass hallucination, or photo manipulation, or we must accept the possibility that something genuinely inexplicable occurred along America's most famous highway. The missing persons cases from Route 66 number in the dozens, though exact figures are difficult to pin down because many cases have been closed, records lost, or details forgotten over time. Of the verified cases, very few bodies were ever recovered. The disappearances cut across demographics: men, women, children, families, solo travelers, wealthy tourists, and poor migrants. There was no clear pattern except for their location: Route 66. Modern investigators and historians have attempted to categorize these disappearances. Some were likely ordinary crimes, murders by known or unknown criminals, accidents, or voluntary disappearances. But a significant subset of cases share the photograph phenomenon and the mysterious girl connection, which cannot be easily explained by conventional criminology. What is perhaps most disturbing is that the Route 66 mystery was never solved. No serial killer was ever arrested. No criminal organization was ever identified. No coordinated explanation was ever determined. The highway simply absorbed travelers into itself, claimed them, and left behind only mysteries. Today, Route 66 is mostly a memory, a symbol of a bygone era. Its few remaining sections are protected as historical landmarks, driven by enthusiasts and tourists seeking to experience American heritage. But locals know the stories. They remember the disappearances. They know which sections of the road are considered dangerous. Some refuse to travel certain stretches alone. Some won't travel them at all. The mysterious girl in the photographs has become folklore, modern mythology. She represents the unknown, the inexplicable, the dark side of adventure. She is the price of the open road, the cost of freedom, the mystery that America never wanted to acknowledge. If you travel Route 66 today, you might visit the same diners where the missing people dined. You might drive past the same rest stops where travelers vanished. You might take photographs at the same scenic overlooks where cars were found empty. And if you look carefully at your photographs when you get home, you might see her, standing in the background, watching, smiling that same impossible smile. The disappearances of Route 66 remain officially unsolved. The case files are scattered across different jurisdictions, most marked as cold cases unlikely to ever be resolved. The photographs that seemed so significant decades ago are largely lost or archived in ways that make them difficult to access. The mystery persists, growing more mysterious with each passing year, fed by internet culture, paranormal enthusiasts, and the collective imagination of a culture fascinated by unsolved mysteries. What happened along Route 66? Who was the girl in the photographs? Where did all those missing people go? We may never know. The Mother Road keeps her secrets, traveling endlessly across America's heartland, beautiful and sinister, promising adventure while concealing darkness. The mystery of Route 66's vanishings stands as a testament to the power of unexplained phenomena to captivate human imagination. It reminds us that despite our modern technology, our scientific understanding, and our investigative capabilities, some mysteries refuse to be solved. Some roads refuse to give up their secrets. As we close this investigation, remember that Route 66 still exists in places. Parts of it can still be driven today. And if you do decide to travel it, take photographs. But be careful when you look at them later. You might find more in your pictures than you remember capturing. You might see someone watching from the shadows, someone who shouldn't be there, someone who is always the same age, always smiling, always present. The vanishings of Route 66 are real. The disappearances happened. The mystery remains. And somewhere along that endless highway, something is still traveling, still watching, still smiling. This has been our exploration of one of America's most haunting unsolved mysteries. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more deep dives into unexplained phenomena. What are your thoughts on the Route 66 mystery? Do you think there's a rational explanation, or something more sinister at work? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.